Hello and welcome back to the Commander Lurpack YouTube channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I paint my Death Korps of Krieg Guardsmen. I hope you enjoy the video. So the first thing I'm going to do is undercoat this Death Korps of Krieg Sergeant black. So I've just finished doing the black undercoat on the Sergeant. Next step will be to dry brush using just a flat brush, Eshin grey onto the uniform. So I've just finished doing the Eshin grey dry brushing of all the cloth areas of the uniform. Helps to just give them a bit of a grey colour. And we're now going to go to a lighter grey, which is Dawnstone, and we're going to apply it to all the cloth areas again using the dry brush, but this time just doing it a bit lighter so that we're only picking out the edges rather than all of the cloth sections. So I've just finished applying the dry brush of Dawnstone to the cloth areas of the Sergeant, and you can just see the grey starting to pop a bit more with darker areas in the recesses and a lighter grey appearing on the ridges of the fabric. Next step will be to apply another dry brush, even lighter grey, Celestra grey, and we'll be doing this even lighter with the brush to only pick out the very edges of the grey uniform. So I've just finished doing the dry brush of Celestra grey onto the uniform, and you can see that it's just started to make that grey pop even more with the dark colours in the recesses and the light colours on the ridges. The next step will be to paint the areas of the armour such as the helmet and the shoulder pads with Abaddon black, this time just using a layer brush. So after using Abaddon black to paint the armoured parts of the model, we are going to use Rhinox hide to paint the gas mask fabric area to make it look like leather, the straps that hold on the radiation counter, and also paint the backpack. I think that's all the detailing that we will be painting in that. Oh, also the belt. And this should help to contrast the grey of the uniform. So I've just finished doing all of the Rhinox hide on all of the leather parts of the model essentially. So the backpack, the straps and the gas mask. Now I'm going to paint the metallic parts with lead belcher, and this will be the buttons on the uniform, some parts of the rebreather, and the plasma pistol, and the hilt and guard of the sword. So I've just finished doing all of the metal parts of the model, such as the buttons, the gas mask rebreather, the guard of the sword and the hilt of the sword, and then any little buttons on the backpack and the canister for the bottom of the backpack. I also noticed that I hadn't painted the gas mask pipe black, so I just quickly went back and did that. Next thing that I'm going to do is paint Wraithbone, and that is going to go on the Quilla on the helmet, and I'm going to paint the lower down bit of each shoulder pad in Wraithbone just to give it a contrasting colour. So I've just finished doing all the Wraithbone sections, such as the Aquila on the head and the shoulder pads. Next up, oh, and I also did a bit of the Wraithbone just inside this little Geiger counter, I'm assuming it is. Next up, we're going to be using Mournfang Brown just to paint the wrap on the boots. So I've just done the Mournfang Brown on the wrap around the boots. Just adds another colour to the model, really. Next step will be to wash literally everything in Agrax Earthshade. And this will just really help to define all those shadows and grime the model up a bit. So the Agrax Earthshade is dried, and I've just given the model another light dry brushing with Celestra Grey just over the grey to bring back that highlight again. Next step will be to get Corn Red and to paint on the little dial on his chest plate. So next up, I'm going to use Deathclaw Brown to lightly dry brush the areas like the backpack and the little satchel on his chest plate, just essentially edge highlighting it, but with a dry brush of a lighter brown. So I've just finished whatever I was doing. So I've just finished dry brushing on the Deathclaw brown onto the brown areas just as a final highlight on it. It gives it a bit of texture as well. And now I'm going to use lead belcher to add some metal chipping onto the helmet and the shoulder plates. I'm going to do this using a very knackered brush, and this will give it quite a random effect on the metal chipping effect. And I'm essentially just going to stipple it on, get a reasonable amount on the brush, and then take most of the paint off the brush the same way you would if you were dry brushing. So now you can see there's hardly any silver paint left on the brush, and I'm just gonna randomly stipple So for my next step, I will be using white scar to paint in the eye lenses. So I've just painted on the white eye lenses, and now I'm going to be using Vallejo fluorescent green and painting this over the white eye lenses. So I've just finished painting on the Vallejo fluorescent green onto the eye lenses, and painting this over the white just makes it pop a little bit more. I'm now going to use moot green, and I'm just going to very lightly dry brush that in the areas of the helmet around the eye lenses, just to give the impression of a bit of object source light. So my camera helpfully cut out while I was dry brushing on the green around the eyes. But as you can see, it's just a small amount of the moot green dry brushed around the eyes, just gives it the impression of a glow effect. Next up, I shall be using Rhinox hide to paint the base, and also dabbing a bit of it onto the lower down parts of the uniform and the legs, just to imply some darker mud spatter stains. So the next step is my favourite step, which is to put some of this Vallejo thick European mud onto the model. I'm going to put it all over the base, and then using a stippling motion put it onto the legs and the lower down parts of the uniform, just to make it look like he's been wading through the trenches like a good Korps of Krieg guardsman should be. So while the mud dries, I'm going to start work on the plasma pistol and the power sword. I'm going to try and do a blue object source light effect. So we're going to start off with white scar and paint that onto the sword and the plasma pistol. So the next step will be to dry brush Calgar blue over the top of the white areas on the plasma pistol and the power sword. And you can get a little bit of this over the areas around the white as well, just as overspill of the light onto the gun or the hilt of the sword. Now we've put the blue colour onto the plasma pistol and the power sword, we're going to start applying blue to the areas where we would expect the light from the power sword and plasma pistol to be reaching. So between the pistol and the uniform here, you would expect a blue glow on the uniform and on the edge of this radiation meter, I think it is. And then on the power sword, you would have a blue glow on the arm, a bit of the helmet, and also on this bit of the uniform. So we've just done the object source light from the plasma pistol and the power sword. Now we're just going to add a bit more of a glow to the power sword using white scar, and I'm just going to stipple along the middle of the sword white scar. I'm going to stipple to make it look uneven, like the swirling energies of the power sword are almost like out of control. Now I'm going to mix some Cantor blue with some of the white, and this will just give it a bit of a stronger blue pigment. So I've just painted the rim brown, and the last step is going to be applying AK puddles just to the base, and this will help to give the mud a wet and fresh look. And I really like this effect on the models. So you just squeeze a drop on. It is self-leveling, but I find it helps to just spread it out with the brush and make sure you've got a nice even coverage. And now it's time for the final reveal. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I used to upload videos every 2 weeks, but lately life's been a bit busy, so I haven't really managed that. So I'm thinking of doing it once a month now, on the first Sunday of every month, just to give me a bit more time to do the videos and actually stick to a schedule. So hopefully see you in a month with something new and hopefully interesting. Bye.
Exciting.
Hopefully.
Bye.